This is when you got signed. I heard about the story.
This is when he knew he would sign me.
Okay.
My jaw was wide shut, and the locks that got signed first to Puff. D from Rough Riders, Darren, you mean? He bought me, gave me the Puff, and he told Puff, he said, yo, if you like the locks, you're gonna love X.
Sean Diddy Combs has spent the last month in a New York City jail, confronting serious federal charges involving trafficking and racketeering. Remarkably, just a year ago, anyone who dared to speak against Diddy or Jay-Z would face immediate backlash or be dismissed as crazy, effectively silencing them. Among those brave enough to speak out was the late DMX, who reportedly aimed to reveal Diddy's mistreatment of his artists and accused Jay-Z of forming questionable alliances with powerful people. Join us as we uncover DMX's exposé, the list of rappers allegedly called by Diddy. But before we dive in, let's look back at DMX's early years. His beginnings explain both his journey into music and the weight of his words. Born Earl Simmons on December 18, 1970, in Mount Vernon, New York, DMX's childhood was far from easy. His parents, Arnett Simmons and Joe Barker, were teenagers when he was born, with Arnett only 19 and Joe 18. DMX was their second child, with an older sister, Bonita, and later a younger sister, Shayla. Tragically, he also had two brothers who were stillborn. His father earned a living painting Philadelphia street scenes in watercolor. Life at home was difficult from the start. DMX faced physical abuse from his mother and struggled with severe bronchial asthma. Raised as a Jehovah's Witness, he eventually distanced himself from the faith after a traumatic accident at age 5. Following an intense punishment from his mother, she sent him to live with family in Yonkers, but his troubles only grew. At 10, DMX was expelled from school and placed in a group home. According to those who knew him, his mother's punishments were harsh. Once, she reportedly knocked out 2 of his teeth with a broomstick. By the age of 15, he had returned to Yonkers but often found himself homeless, sleeping in abandoned storage bins and keeping company with stray dogs. School proved challenging as well, and poor grades kept him from joining his school's track and field team. With little money or support, he started stealing to get by, even robbing classmates for food, clothing, and a leather collar and harness for his dog. His petty thefts soon escalated to carjacking, leading him down a dangerous path. In 1985, DMX got his first break in music by beatboxing for a local rapper named Ready Ron. They would perform small gigs together, with Ron on the mic and DMX providing beatbox rhythms and ad-libs. Ready Ron became like an older brother to him. But as time passed, DMX felt sidelined by Ron's growing spotlight, inspiring him to start rapping himself. Taking on the name DMX, he initially defined it as Divine Master of the Unknown, though he would later change it to Darkman X. After spending 2 years in jail for carjacking, DMX began writing his own lyrics and performing at community centers for neighborhood kids. In 1988, DMX found himself back in jail for another carjacking. This time, however, he committed himself fully to his craft, writing lyrics and engaging in rap battles with fellow inmates. It was here that he developed his distinctive spellbound style, spelling out each word in his rhymes, a technique he would later compete over with future rival K-Solo. By 1991, DMX's talent was beginning to attract attention. He gained recognition for a freestyle on the Stretch Armstrong and Bobbito radio show, earning him a mention in the Source magazine's Unsigned Hype column. DMX continued releasing mixtapes, and by 1992, he had secured a deal with the then up-and-coming Rough Riders Entertainment. Noticing his potential, Columbia Records signed him under their Chaos Records imprint through Rough House. But when his debut single, Born Loser, didn't perform as hoped, Rough House dropped him, leaving DMX to chart his own path once again. In early 1994, Death Row Records showed interest in signing DMX, with plans to collaborate with Rough Riders, but the deal never came to fruition. Soon after, major labels across the industry began vying for DMX, recognizing his rare talent and potential. Around the same time, Tupac was involved in the making of the iconic film Above the Rim, while still signed to Interscope Records. During this period, he crossed paths with Suge Knight in New York, long before their infamous partnership during the Death Row era. At that point, Suge had already paid Tupac $200,000 to record a track for the Murder Was the Case soundtrack. Although the track never saw the light of day in its original form, Tupac and Snoop Dogg later reworked it, marking the beginning of a notable collaboration. Suge had big plans for building a hip-hop empire and even met with Irv Gotti and the Rough Riders to discuss bringing DMX, Swizz Beatz, and their crew to Death Row Records. However, the Rough Riders founders later revealed that although they were close to striking a deal, they were concerned about the terms. They feared their artists would be forced to focus on West Coast projects, losing touch with their Yonkers roots. Swizz Beatz also shared how Suge tried to pressure them into the deal. In a photo from 1994, you can see Tupac and Suge with the Rough Riders, though DMX is notably absent. Death Row made another attempt in 1995, flying the Rough Riders out to Los Angeles, with plans for Tupac to meet with DMX and talk about the East Coast-West Coast tensions. Had that meeting happened, it might have changed the trajectory of hip-hop in the 90s, possibly boosting Death Row to even greater heights. Suge had already been laying the groundwork to launch Death Row East in 1997, with Eric B. as president and artists like Craig Mack and Boot Camp Click lined up as the first signings. But here's the twist. Tupac never made it down to meet DMX. He got caught up in other conversations, missing out on what could have been a game-changing collaboration. In the years that followed, DMX threw some subtle jabs at Tupac in his freestyles and unreleased tracks around 1996. Some of those lyrics were even included in his 1998 hit, Get At Me Dog, though DMX changed the Tupac reference. Was DMX making a statement or feeling slighted because Tupac didn't show up at the hotel lobby? Either way, the Rough Riders might have avoided some potential drama, but it's hard to imagine the power of DMX, Irv Gotti, Swizz Beatz, and Tupac together under Death Row. As the 90s came to a close, DMX's journey continued to gain momentum. His close friend Irv Gotti landed a major role as president of A&R at Def Jam, winning over the label's president Leor Cohen. This breakthrough led to DMX signing with Def Jam in May 1997. By 1998, DMX was in the studio, working on his debut album. During this time, his features on My Hay's 24 Hours to Live, The Lox's Money, Power, and Respect, and LL Cool J's 4.3.21 created a buzz and anticipation for what was next. In February 1998, DMX released his first major label single, Get At Me Dog, which went gold almost immediately. A few months later, in May 1998, his debut album It's Dark and Hell Is Hot dropped, featuring the breakout hit Rough Riders Anthem. The album debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200, selling over 5 million copies. DMX even performed for a massive crowd of over 300,000 at Woodstock, with his Rough Riders Anthem performance becoming iconic. Later that year, in December 1998, DMX returned with his second album, Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood, which also debuted at #1 and went multi-platinum. He made history as the only rapper at that time to have his first two albums debut at #1 on the Billboard 200 in the same year. This record stood for a while. On December 21, 1999, DMX released his third album. And then there was X, which also debuted at #1. The hit single Party Up became a chart-topping success, earning him a Grammy nomination, while the album went 6 times platinum and was nominated for Best Rap Album at the 2001 Grammy Awards. In 2000, DMX made a cameo in Sum 41's Makes No Difference music video before joining the Anger Management Tour alongside hip-hop and nu metal legends like Limp Bizkit, Godsmack, and Snoop Dogg. After resolving some legal issues, DMX returned to the studio for his fourth album, The Great Depression, which dropped on October 23, 2001. It became his fourth consecutive album to debut at #1 on the Billboard 200, featuring singles like Who We Be, We Right Here, and I Miss You. Although it went triple platinum, it didn't reach the same heights as his previous works. In September 2003, DMX released Grand Champ, his fifth album, which once again soared to the top of the Billboard 200, debuting at #1. With standout tracks like Where the Hood At and Get It on the Floor, DMX also made a bold announcement. He was retiring after the album's release. However, his time away from the spotlight didn't last long. By January 2006, after some conflicts with Def Jam, he signed with Columbia Records and dropped Year of the Dog, again on August 1, 2006. The album debuted at #2 on the Billboard 200, featuring singles like Lord Give Me a Sign and We in Here. 3 years later, Def Jam released The Definition of X, The Pick of the Litter, a compilation album that celebrated DMX's greatest hits. 3 years later, in 2011, the label followed up with The Best of DMX. During this period, DMX also began to explore a more spiritual path, delving into preaching and even working on a gospel music album. Before his time in prison, DMX made a memorable appearance at the BET Hip Hop Awards on October 11, 2011, where he revealed he was working on his 7th studio album, Undisputed. Despite some delays, the album was finally released on September 11, 2012, with contributions from producers Swizz Beatz and J.R. Rotem. Swizz Beatz also hinted that Kanye West and Dr. Dre played a role in the production of DMX's upcoming 8th album. In 2016, DMX's iconic track X Gon Give It To You was featured in the hit film Deadpool. That same year, on June 28th, he released a new single called Blood Red. A few months later, in January 2017, DMX dropped another track titled Bane Is Back, which was produced by Swizz Beatz. Fast forward to September 20th, 2019, DMX made a big return to Def Jam Recordings by signing a new deal. His 8th album, Exodus, was released posthumously on May 28th, 2021 through Def Jam. Now let's take a closer look at the brief but unforgettable journey of Murder Inc., a hip-hop collective that brought together some of the biggest names in East Coast rap, DMX, Jay-Z, and J. Rule. Founded in 1995 by Irv Gotti, Murder Inc. quickly became a force to be reckoned with in the hip-hop scene. Their chemistry was undeniable, and their early tracks, like MC Goon's Time to Build, set the stage for their rise to prominence. Their collaboration on Murdergram for the Streets Is Watching soundtrack solidified their presence in the rap game. However, despite the success and their undeniable chemistry, the group's time together was far shorter than many expected. Tensions simmered behind the scenes, and at the heart of it all was the explosive feud between Jay-Z and DMX. The rivalry between these two legends began in the Bronx, with a fierce rap battle that would ultimately lead to their downfall. The battle was fierce, lasting for hours, with the tension so high that even guns were drawn. Yet, in true hip-hop fashion, it never escalated beyond that. There was an unspoken respect between them, and despite the high stakes, no one took things too far. The battle ended in what both sides called a victory, but for DMX, it was never truly settled. "I still won," he would reflect later, acknowledging how much he learned from the experience, even though it was a grudge that lingered. Behind the scenes, Irv Gotti explained that the ongoing tension between Jay-Z and DMX played a significant role in the group's struggles. DMX, in particular, harbored a deep resentment toward Jay-Z. The root of their animosity stretched back to their early encounters in the 90s. Jay-Z had initially dismissed DMX's music as too dark and somber. However, as DMX's success grew under Gotti's direction, Jay-Z's opinion shifted. This tension was further fueled by a fiery rap battle between the two at a Bronx pool hall. DMX never felt like he truly won that battle, and it lingered as a point of contention for years. Ja Rule, another key member of Murder, Inc., admitted that it became increasingly difficult to get both DMX and Jay-Z in the same room. Their unresolved issues made collaboration near impossible. The legendary confrontation at the pool hall, which had involved drawn guns, marked a pivotal moment in the group's eventual collapse. As Murder, Inc. began to unravel, DMX didn't hold back in airing his grievances. He publicly accused Ja Rule of copying his distinctive delivery style and even released a diss track titled "They Want War." Despite the tension, Ja Rule opted not to escalate the conflict with a public feud, instead choosing to seek a more peaceful resolution. After DMX's release from jail in 2005, Irv Gotti reached out to him in an effort to mend the broken relationships within the group. DMX, surprisingly open to reconciliation, agreed with a simple, "All right, Gotti, let's do it." Murder, Inc. only managed to release 2 singles, Murdergram and It's Murder, but neither made a significant commercial impact. Despite this, hip-hop fans could sense the trio's immense potential, and many believed they had the ability to become one of the greatest rap groups in history. However, the unresolved tensions among the members kept that from happening, leaving their brief time together as a what could have been story in hip-hop lore. These internal struggles laid the groundwork for the future conflicts that would emerge between DMX, Jay-Z, and P. Diddy, who was also a close friend of Jay-Z. In 2016, during a candid interview on NORE and DJ EFN's Drink Champs podcast, DMX opened up about some of the behind-the-scenes drama that had shaped his career. He recalled a pivotal moment early in his journey when Puff Daddy, also known as Diddy, rejected him. According to DMX, Puff told him directly that he didn't like his voice, finding it too harsh and rough to succeed in mainstream music. Puff's words were blunt and honest, but to DMX, they felt like a harsh wake-up call. "You and me, the Puff," DMX remembered Puff saying. Although the rejection stung, DMX later expressed respect for Puff's honesty. When DMX tried to pitch himself by saying, "If you like the Locks, you're gonna love X," Puff wasn't convinced. He shot down the comparison, claiming that DMX's voice was too rough and that he was unmarketable. Even though Puff's judgment didn't align with what DMX ultimately became, the rapper appreciated that Puff had been direct with him, even if the rejection stung. The exchange became one of those legendary moments in hip-hop history, one that NORE and DJ EFN couldn't help but laugh about during the podcast. As they reflected on the moment, NORE even started a slow clap, joking, "Let's give it up for Puff messing up." But the story didn't end there. DMX got the last laugh. Just 3 weeks after signing a deal with Def Jam, Puff Daddy came back into the picture, trying to woo DMX with a new offer. He wanted to double the rapper's deal, but by then, DMX was already set in his ways. He was confident in the choice he'd made, and without hesitation, he turned Puff down, saying, "Nah, I'm good." It was a moment of conviction that spoke volumes about DMX's belief in himself. Soon after, DMX released his first major label single, "Get At Me Dog," which went gold and quickly became a staple in hip-hop. Over the next several years, he would release 5 of his 7 albums under Def Jam, in collaboration with Rough Riders Entertainment. While DMX was focused on his own rising success, the drama surrounding Puff Daddy didn't seem to quiet down. Headlines continued to swirl about Puff's controversial actions, but DMX wasn't the type to keep his opinions to himself. Reports soon revealed that DMX had a clear understanding of the complicated dynamics between Puff and Jay-Z, 2 of the most powerful figures in the music industry. DMX didn't shy away from calling them out when he felt the need. He had a unique perspective on the inner workings of the game and wasn't afraid to share his thoughts, whether it was about Puff's past missteps or Jay-Z's own moves in the industry. In a recent interview, DMX made some striking accusations against Diddy, claiming that he had been exploiting his artists. While some fans think DMX was using the term graping metaphorically, implying that Diddy wasn't paying his artists fairly, others believe he was more serious. It was clear that DMX had some serious issues with Diddy, and rumors suggested he was aware of some questionable activities going on at Bad Boy Records. One fan even mentioned that DMX had criticized Diddy for allegedly mistreating his artists, particularly Biggie. At first, many speculated that DMX was accusing Diddy of pocketing all of Biggie's money. With the recent controversies surrounding Diddy, it's tough to say for sure what the truth is. Meanwhile, DMX's relationship with Jay-Z was far from simple. While Jay-Z publicly honored DMX after his passing, there were whispers that DMX had never fully trusted him. Allegedly, DMX thought Jay was overly competitive and didn't want anyone else to rise to prominence. It was rumored that Jay even interfered with DMX's sixth album out of fear it might compete with his own success. However, Jay-Z has never confirmed these allegations. After DMX's death in 2021, Jay appeared on LeBron James's show The Shop, where LeBron asked him about DMX's legacy. Jay mentioned boycotting the Grammys in 1999 because DMX wasn't nominated, a gesture that showed respect despite their rivalry. Interestingly, Jay didn't address his supposed role in the competitive tension or how he might have hindered DMX's career. The tension between the two grew when Jay-Z took over at Def Jam in 2004. DMX, who had enjoyed major success with the label, felt things began to change. Although he had dropped 5 successful albums between 1998 and 2003, DMX claimed that Jay attempted to sabotage his 6th album, Year of the Dog. According to DMX, the problems began when Jay became president of Def Jam. DMX recalled a phone call from Jay, who told him, "Yo, dog, I'm just running the building. Are you good? Finish the album and shoot the video." But when Jay went on vacation, DMX grew suspicious, feeling that Jay was trying to sideline him. "You retire, then try to kick me off the label, and now you're back to rapping?" DMX said, realizing that Jay was more focused on his own ambitions than on supporting others. This made DMX decide to leave Def Jam and sign with Columbia Records. But there was more to DMX's distrust of Jay-Z. It went beyond personal rivalry. It tied into the connections Jay had with the industry's most powerful figures, the ones really pulling the strings behind the scenes. Both Jay-Z and DMX left an undeniable mark on hip-hop, but their paths diverged when it came to business. While Jay-Z played the game to climb the ranks, DMX was outspoken, criticizing how label owners held artists down. He refused to be controlled either figuratively or literally. From the start, Jay-Z had been making moves within the industry, and over time, rumors of him turning his back on those close to him started to surface. One of those who spoke out was Dame Dash, co-founder of Rockefeller. Dame accused Jay of getting cozy with the industry's bigwigs, eventually abandoning him. In 2021, when Dame tried to sell his shares in Rockefeller, Jay reportedly offered him only $1.5 million, which Dame felt was an insult. In retaliation, Dame and his crew attempted to auction off Jay's debut album, Reasonable Doubt, as an NFT. This led to a lawsuit from Rockefeller, but Dame didn't back down. He insisted that he wasn't trying to sell a piece of the project. He just saw through the corporate games being played. Even after settling the lawsuit in 2022, Dame continued to speak out, accusing Jay of betraying their partnership for money, suggesting that the higher-ups in the music industry had influenced Jay's decision. It was a classic strategy of divide and conquer, but Dame Dash didn't stop there. He took it a step further by publicly calling out key figures, starting with Lyor Cohen, a major industry player and one of Jay-Z's closest mentors. For years, Jay had seen Lyor as a guiding figure in his career, much like Diddy had relied on Clive Davis to shape his path. Lyor Cohen has often found himself embroiled in controversy throughout his career, with Dame Dash being one of his most vocal critics. Dame accused Lyor of employing a divide-and-conquer tactic, fostering divisions between black artists and moguls. This conflict came to a head in 2018 when Lior appeared on The Breakfast Club. During the interview, Lior spoke about the opioid epidemic and expressed regret over DMX's struggles with addiction. However, when Charlemagne pressed him about why he continued to support artists who glorified drug culture, despite its harmful effects, Lior's response was blunt. "That's just how the business rolls." This exchange revealed the uncomfortable contradictions within the industry, particularly in how it handles serious issues like substance abuse. Dame didn't let Lior's words slide. After Lior's comments about him went viral, Dame fired back on Instagram, calling out Lior for validating his own argument. He wrote, "Thanks for this, Lior Cohen, for proving my point in classic culture vulture fashion. They profit off us and then try to erase our real history, acting like the true pioneers never existed. He pays his bills at our expense." Dame didn't stop there. He raised a crucial point. If Lior was so influential, why couldn't he sell rock music? Why wasn't he more in tune with his own culture? Dame called out figures like Lior, saying, "Stop pretending. All my people are laughing at you now." But how does all of this connect to DMX? Allegedly, Lior played a role in encouraging Jay-Z to interfere with DMX's sixth album, making things even more complicated. Then, after DMX passed away, Lior made some controversial remarks during the rapper's funeral. DMX's farewell service took place in Brooklyn on April 25, 2021. It was a powerful moment with speeches from several major figures in the music industry. Lior, however, chose to send a video message instead of attending in person. While he initially praised DMX, he then referred to him as a gremlin, which sparked shock and outrage. As we reflect on these events, it's clear that sometimes we don't even have to fight the battles that come our way, because higher powers are looking out for us. This moment in time is a reminder that blessings often flow when we least expect them. The stories of DMX, Jay-Z, and the many figures who have shaped the music industry are more than just tales of success and stardom. They expose a world where power dynamics, clashing egos, and intricate relationships take center stage. These artists, along with their peers, have navigated a complex web of competition, collaboration, and betrayal. A world far removed from the glamorous image often portrayed in the media. At the heart of this world lies the rise and fall of iconic labels like Murder Inc., where the battles for control and influence were just as fierce as any chart-topping hit. The label, once a dominant force, became a symbol of the volatility and risk that comes with high stakes in the music business. Behind the scenes, record labels are more than just factories for hits. They are battlegrounds where loyalties are constantly tested, alliances shift, and personal ambitions often come into conflict with business interests. Therefore, maintaining control over their image and their business ventures often means keeping things behind closed doors, where the real power struggles unfold away from the public eye. But the intrigue doesn't stop with Lior and Dame. The latest drama centers on Sean "Diddy" Combs, who is currently in custody at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, awaiting trial on a range of serious federal charges. Prosecutors from the Southern District of New York have presented a detailed case, alleging that Diddy used his vast business empire, connections, and resources to run a criminal organization involved in a number of illicit activities over the years. One of the most disturbing claims involves what prosecutors refer to as freak-offs. These events allegedly involved Combs bringing in male sex workers and coercing participants to engage in explicit acts, sometimes with the use of threats, drugs, and other forms of manipulation. These gatherings were secretly filmed, painting a troubling picture of exploitation and control. The gravity of these allegations only adds more complexity to the case, making it one of the most sensitive and intricate legal battles to follow. In the latest update on Sean "Diddy" Combs's case, the trial timeline is beginning to take shape. During a recent status hearing, a tentative trial date was set for May 5, 2025. This date, however, is far from final. It's important to note that multiple factors could influence whether this date stands, as the situation is still fluid. One notable element pushing for a quicker resolution is the defense's push for an expedited trial, likely due to Combs's continued detention and the desire to bring closure to the case as soon as possible. When the case first emerged, many anticipated that Diddy's trial might not begin until late 2025, or even stretch into the following year. But the defense's drive for an earlier date is rooted in Combs' current incarceration. He remains behind bars while awaiting trial, and understandably, he is eager to put this tumultuous period behind him. His legal team, while continuing to fight the denial of his bail in court, seems focused on accelerating the trial proceedings. The hope is that a swift trial will lead to an acquittal, allowing him to return to his life and family sooner. The alternative, remaining in detention for 1 or even 2 more years, is simply untenable for him. However, this set trial date could still be altered. A major concern is the possibility of Combs facing additional charges. If the prosecution uncovers new evidence, they could return to the grand jury to seek a superseding indictment. This could involve either the addition of new charges or the upgrade of current ones. Such a development would require the exchange of new evidence, legal motions, and discovery materials, which could push back the trial date significantly. If new charges are filed, the May 5th, 2025 date might no longer be realistic. The prospect of new charges isn't just a theoretical concern. During the hearing, Assistant U.S. Attorney Emily Johnson confirmed that the investigation remains active and that new evidence is still being reviewed. She hinted at the possibility of a superseding indictment based on both digital and physical evidence currently being analyzed, along with ongoing conversations with additional witnesses. Some of these witnesses may be new to the case, potentially offering information that could change the direction of the trial. If the prosecution establishes probable cause for further criminal activity, it could delay the trial even further, complicating the entire process. As for the trial itself, the logistics are becoming clearer. Prosecutors estimate that it will take around 3 weeks to present their case, while the defense claims they only need 1 week. This discrepancy is telling. It suggests that the defense might be focusing more on cross-examining the government's witnesses rather than presenting many witnesses of their own. If new charges emerge, the timeline could shift again, making the trial even more unpredictable. In the ongoing legal battle surrounding Sean Diddy Combs, one of the key strategies from his defense team is to challenge the accusations made by the prosecution, particularly those regarding the so-called freak-offs. The defense plans to call the alleged male sex workers involved in these events to the stand, aiming to argue that these gatherings were entirely consensual. They will assert that no one involved felt pressured, threatened, or coerced into participating. This argument is crucial, especially in light of the serious allegations made by Victim 1 in the indictment, whose identity remains undisclosed but is widely believed to be Cassandra Ventura, Combs' ex-girlfriend. Ventura has already claimed in a separate lawsuit that she was assaulted by Combs, adding complexity to the case. In addition to challenging the nature of the alleged freak-offs, there was another significant development during the hearing. Combs's legal team accused the government, particularly the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, of misconduct. The defense team filed a formal complaint, claiming that DHS agents had leaked sensitive information to the media and made inappropriate comments about the case. They are now demanding an evidentiary hearing to explore these accusations further. One of the most explosive claims made by the defense centers around a 2016 videotape, which allegedly shows Combs assaulting Cassandra Ventura in a hotel hallway. This footage was leaked to the public in May 2024, just after Homeland Security agents had conducted raids on Combs's properties in the lead-up to his arrest. According to the defense, the leak came from within the DHS, and they are now pushing for an investigation into how the tape made its way into the hands of the media. That's all for today's video. What do you think about this issue? Leave a comment below to let us know. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates. Thank you, and see you next time. Goodbye.